And we can get started whenever you're ready.
Sid's got the
Yes.
full beard growing out.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Yasi.
Welcome to High
Perfect.
Level. We're an all-in-one platform.
Right. So it'll be Karthik. So Karthik is the product manager for the integrations and marketplace team. So he'll be leading the call. So over to you, Karthik.
Awesome. Thanks, Sid. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this call. I'm Karthik and I lead the marketplace and integrations products for High Level. So quick look at the agenda for today, right? What are we going to be discussing? First, we'll walk you through all the things which you're working on, all the new releases you should be expecting in July this month. And we'll also give you a quick sneak peek at all the things we are working on for Q3, the upcoming quarter, right? We just started Q3 now and we've finalized the roadmap. So I wanted to walk you all through all the things we're going to be working on in Q3 and also seek your feedback, right? Whenever we do have some designs ready, etc., our objective is to share as much information as we have so that we get feedback early, right? So this is the forum where we get to show things to you early and also take feedback from you early. So please be as vocal as you can be on this call, right? So with that, let's get started. All right, cool. So what are some new things we're working on for the July, like we should be expecting in July? One is the app free trial, which is a pricing model, right? We are very bullish about this feature. With this, developers can offer free trial on paid apps for up to 90 days, right? The default we recommend is 14 days, but developers can offer it for as high as 90 days. So when you install the app, although you will be required to, if you haven't configured payment already, you will be required to configure the payment, but the subscription will not start on day one, right? It will only start after, let's say, 14 days. In those 14 days, if you're not happy with the app, you can uninstall it, and that way you're not charged anything at all. So why are we doing this? One, enable adoption of apps through free trials, and two, avoid instances of dissatisfied customers seeking refunds, etc. Right? These are the two primary objectives we're trying to solve with free trials. So you can be expecting free trials to be rolled out next week on the app marketplace. Any questions?
Seems like a really great feature. Slam dunk.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan.
Karthik, sorry to interrupt you. Can you go slideshow? I think the screen will be.
Oops. Yep. Sorry. So this is a quick preview of what that will look like when you're installing the app. It will say, hey, you'll be charged only after 14 days of free trial. I think I also have just this quick preview of what this looks like for the developer, right? When the developer is creating the app, in the pricing page, they'll be able to configure the free trial. And yeah, we'll try to make free trial as discoverable as possible when you're searching for the apps in the marketplace. Try to show cards or tags on how many that apps which have free trial. And once you go in, you'll be able to see it here as well. And as you already saw, while for paying for the app, right? Once you're in the phase of payment, you'll be able to see whether the app offers free trial or not. So yeah, this is a quick sneak peek. Oh yeah, once you also already signed up for a app free trial, right? You'll also be able to track how many days you have the free trial left for. So it will say, hey, you'll be charged $40 starting May 25th on a monthly basis and so on.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is huge, man. It's really going to unlock marketplace apps for people that are like unsure, they don't want to pay right up front. So
Exactly. That was the main objective behind this as well. Awesome. Cool. Let's move on to the next one. Dual profiles for agency and sub account. And this came as a feedback from many developers, right? What is the problem we are trying to solve here? Today, if you look at the way an app is designed by the developer, they have an app profile where they get to put three things in, right? One is the app description, the app preview images, and the app, any video if they want to on the YouTube, right? Now, the problem here is for agency and sub account distribution type apps, it's the same profile, the same app details page, which is shown to both agency and sub account. So a lot of developers came back to us saying, hey, can you just make us for agency and sub account types, can you make us have two different app details page, one for agency and one for sub account, right? They get to tell you what you can offer to your sub accounts in the agency profile, while your sub accounts only see very white label friendly details. So the agencies, the developers get to customize what the agencies see versus the what sub accounts see in the app details page. So the main objective here is one, to help developers sell to agencies while maintaining the white label friendliness to the sub accounts. Any thoughts on this? I just want to hear feedback.
On the agency side, can we preview the sub account profile?
Yes, we'll enable that. So I just want to understand something, Charles. Like, do you also have like a test sub account where you usually kind of install the app, test it, and then for agency and sub account app, like how do you go about it?
No. I'm not to the point where I trust the process. So the more I can see, the more I can determine if it's something that I want to offer and show my clients.
Got it. Got it.
More transparency is better than not enough.
Understood.
So if I can see what my, if I see my profile, I'm like, okay, that's my information, but then I can click a button to expand and see the sub account profile. I know exactly what they're going to see. And that's always, that's been one of the concerns from the beginning, is when we're looking at it from the agency side, there's never been a clear definition of, if you didn't understand that there was only one profile, someone not knowing looks at it, they're like, okay, I see this, but what does my end customer see? Do I really want to put, like, I don't like that it has that in there, or, has this in there. Is that what my end customer is going to see?
Got it.
Just helps with the review process before we enable or disable an app.
Got it. Yeah, we'll make sure we build for this, Charles. So you have ability or visibility to both the agency view and the sub account view. But overall, do you think direction
happens,
Charles,
right? Yeah.
ahead.
I think it should happen with this, right? Because again, right, so for the agencies, white label agencies, when they do the review of all the sub account applications under managed app permissions, then basically what they should, or what they would ideally see, is the sub account level details of the application. Yeah, so I think that should happen with this, but yeah.
Got it. But overall, like, what are your thoughts about this in terms of having two separate app profiles, Charles, like, or anybody like?
I think it's great. Like I said, the more visibility that we have and the more transparency that we have into these apps, the better. So I think separating out the two profiles, so there's a clear distinction of what the agency sees and what the sub account sees. The white label SaaS providers like myself, that's what we want to see. We want to see both. We understand that there needs to be maybe different verbiage or different information for the agency, but at the end of the day, we also want to know exactly what our clients are going to see before we click enable.
And to piggyback with what he's saying is on the pricing, the same thing. Is it on the pricing section, are we going to be able to put our white label pricing on it, or have an option to where we can include it in our white label pricing we're already charging our people? So whether we want to upgrade the pricing or not. So for example, there's a menu one in there right now that I would love to utilize, but I would also love to not have to manage it all on my end for my sub accounts, and let them manage the menu one.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, ideally, if you are reselling the app, it's only your price that the sub accounts will be seeing, not the developers.
Okay.
Right. That's the overall direction, but I think there's more room for improvement in terms of making that clear to agencies, right? That, hey, this is exactly what it's going to look like for your sub accounts. Having the visibility to what sub accounts see, I think, is the common ask here. Makes sense. Thanks for that, Jennifer. Cool. All right. Let's move on. private integrations. So this also is planned for next week. So private integrations is we do have API v2, and we want as many users who especially have many private apps and private integrations to move from API v1 to v2, right? And this is our offering which allows you to move to v2 without having to worry about all the technicalities such as OAuth, etc. Right? So today, if a developer has to build an app on the API v2, it's a little bit more challenging. But we understand many of you have your own private integrations on Make, etc. Right? Where it's very easy today to just go grab the API key from for the sub account, or for you to just go grab the API key from the UI and just plug it in there, right? And we want to give the same experience with API v2, right? So what does this look like? Let me open. So we do have this on staging. We're going to go live next week. So private integrations is exactly like API keys. Today, if a sub account wants to copy an API key, they go here, right? So API keys are in business profile, right? For the
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
right
it's right there.
the bottom there.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So this is where you copy the API key, right? Going forward, there's going to be a new tab called private integrations. And you can have as many as 5 integrations, which means 5 different. So the terminology changes now. It's no longer keys, but tokens, right? So to create a new integration, you just click here, give it a name that helps you identify, like, hey, my make app 2, right? And now this is the most important thing. You now get to decide what access this particular token has on your account. With API keys, a developer could do anything they want on your account, right? But with V2, the permissions and scopes are now in your hands. So if you want, let's say, a make app which only requires access to contacts, you can just say, hey, view contacts, and not even edit the contacts, right? And maybe view calendars. So you can just say what a developer can do with this particular token. And that way there is a lot more security. So once you have created, you get to copy the token from here and just give it to your developer, or just put it in the make app, right?
That's huge. That's
It's
awesome.
as easy as that. Awesome. Now, once we have it created, right? So this is the one we created called my make app 2. Now we recommend that you keep rotating these tokens once in 90 days, right? It's a good practice, a security practice, to keep rotating your access tokens once in 90 days. How do you do that? There are 2 ways, right? Once in 90 days, you can come here and say, rotate and expire this token later. What would this do? This will expire the existing token after 7 days and give you a new replacement token, right? So what this means is, for a period of 7 days starting now, right, there is a new token which has been generated here, but there's also your old token which is going to work for the next 7 days, right? So this gives you a transition period where your developer can change it with the new key, while your existing key will also, or token will also, continue to work. So this way, it's your change management is now easier with both the tokens working. That's your planned maintenance on planned rotations, right? Now, what if you got to know, hey, that your token has been compromised, right? What do I do? That's when you go and hit, let me just hit cancel rotation. That's when you go and hit rotate and expire this token now, which means the old token is killed immediately and you get a new token immediately. And you can hand over this new token to your developer. So this way, we are now making all the private integrations you build a lot more secure in terms of access, it's limited, and to better maintenance with the rotation options.
Hey, Karthik, is this going to be added as a potential merge field or custom field, and possibly in workflows, so that developers that have if they're giving out their API key to a bunch of people and they're rotating keys, they don't have to copy and paste that key and give it to every single one of them. They can just have a merge field and maybe trigger a workflow that sends out that new key when it's rotated.
So we are not So the way we see it, Andrew, is a token is a very sacrosanct thing, right? We don't want to kind of build automations around it. We want
Yeah.
to make sure anytime a person is exchanging a token with another, it's very conscious and human,
Right.
right? Understand that you want to build automations around it, but that becomes the number one channel where these tokens get compromised and hence your account gets compromised, right?
Yeah.
So we're being very cautious in terms of how we're approaching it, because we saw a lot of security concerns with API v1 and keys being compromised. So we want to make sure, at least for now, that the access tokens are generated in the user experience only, and it's only human, giving it from one person to another and not through automations.
Diaz brought up a couple of good points. One, is this going to be added to permissions so that we can obviously lock out users from
Yes.
rotating tokens?
Yes.
And then the second one about audit logs. So we're going to be, obviously it exists in a log somewhere, but are we going to be showing it in the audit log?
Yes to both. Yes to both. So every single activity related to private integrations will be listed in the audit log. And yes, so we are rolling this out in 2 phases. We are rolling it out only for locations next week, and for agencies it will be rolled out probably in 3 weeks from now, right?
Okay.
So,
but we'll have permissions like day one, right?
one. So yeah, as we roll out the feature, we'll also have the corresponding permissions rolled out as well. So next week we'll have location level permissions rolled out. And 3 weeks from now, we'll also have agency level permissions rolled out.
Amazing. Good questions, Diep.
Thanks, Dia. That was a great question.
Yeah.
And you said the number of them was going to be 5 tokens?
5 to start with. Do you feel there's a need for more, Charles?
I mean, I always like the tiered approach on which high level plan you're on. I mean, if 497 is probably going to need more than the 297 and retrospectively to the 97.
Maybe just add a button to request more, like request a volume increase or something. So like individuals that are on the 497 that don't need 20 tokens don't get that limit.
Got it. Great feedback. Sure. Awesome.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know how many, as a percentage, how many agencies have more than 5. I mean, Charles is a power user, let's be honest, but I'm just kind of curious where most people stand on that.
Well, inherently, the more sub accounts that you have, I mean, the more that it's, you get into bigger accounts, they're going to integrate with more platforms, need more keys. So
I could see that.
So Charles, this is 5 per sub account.
right.
Each sub account is to generate 5 of them.
But like when I work with web development firms, they have more than 5 outside integrations that they would have to connect to.
That is true.
Well, you can use the same key for multiple integrations. It's just the scope.
Yeah,
of
but you wouldn't want to.
You wouldn't want to, though.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's
That
all
defeats
about
the
this
purpose.
balance between security and convenience. So yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I say, on the, on the 297, maybe it's 5 per sub account. On the 497, maybe it's 10 per sub account.
Well, here's a
97,
question.
1.
What do you think the max would be? Or like what would be a reasonable number of, like, you're working with a web dev firm and they're like, yeah, we normally use like 12 to 15, or is it 5 to 10, or like, I'm curious.
I would
what that number
probably
would be.
say 5 to 10 would probably cover most. But I think 5 is hitting the point where I could definitely see that limit getting hit. 10,
Okay.
I think it would give it more of a road, a road.
Yeah, like 10.
So,
like
well-
10 for everybody, and then up to 20 for people who need 20. I don't know.
And you can
Okay.
even add this to rebilling too, Ryan. Like if the sub account requests more
Yeah.
APIs, you can like say, oh, hey, it's a $20 a month charge or whatever for another 10 API keys.
I
Or no-
like that rebilling idea.
Got it.
Okay. So I guess, maybe just add some summary to this. It sounds like 5 could definitely get hit. So as adoption, as we push on adoption, we'll probably want to have an option to increase that, whether it's a manual approval kind of a thing, or we build it into the tiers. And product will make all those decisions on how that works, but that seems to kind of make sense. But at least for V1 skateboard, like 5 is going to work for a lot of people, I'm hearing. Charles,
Yeah.
yourself probably excluded, but we can plan for increasing that over time.
Got it. Yeah, and the rebilling idea is also great. We could explore that as well. Yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely room for improvement for private integrations.
I
Exactly.
only have a few great ideas every week, so you gotta take them while you get
Yeah,
them.
exactly. This is really cool though. I like how you guys are, I like the transition period. 7 days seems like a sufficient amount of time. For most devs, I don't know. 2 weeks seems to be the limit they normally give me, but anyway. Well, cool. What else we got?
Awesome. So that's some private integrations. Multiple Facebook pages. So this one has been in the works for quite some time, but I think end of July is when we are, or first week of August is when we're targeting this to go live.
Sweet.
Some more few things we're working on. Ability to set a default reselling markup for all apps. The entire reselling app marketplace reselling page is going to go for some improvements. We're going to add the search capability there where you can search the apps, which today is missing, and to set a one flat reselling percentage across all the apps. So a couple of things we're working on from a app reselling point of view, and then many UI enhancements and new filters. Right. So with that, there's one thing which we're excited about. So I'm not sure. Last week we discussed the last June call. We discussed about the Snapshot app marketplace. Does anybody remember, or should I just give a quick walkthrough of that again?
Yeah, just do a quick little walkthrough on that.
Awesome. So the Snapshot marketplace, right? So what we want to do is basically expand the modules or ingredients that a developer can sell as part of the app on a marketplace, right? So we'll now include snapshots as well. And in Q3, we're including 3 modules: snapshots, funnel widgets, and templates, right? And when you say templates, it's website, forms, and email. So with that, the one common theme across this is that it's now a new persona. It's no longer a tech developer who's coming on board, but agencies and the entire marketing ecosystem, which is now becoming a developer on the app marketplace. So we wanted to make sure we simplify the entire app creation process, right? So there are 2 things we're working on. One is the entire installation experience, and the second one is the app creation flow. Right. So first, I'll walk you through the app creation flow, how you as agencies can now come and build apps on the marketplace with snapshots, custom funnel widgets, and so on. So this is how you start, right? It'll say, hey, create the perfect app by selecting from a variety of ingredients like snapshots, workflow actions and triggers, payment providers, etc. And the first step is select your ingredients. What do you want to build, right? Custom JS, snapshot, conversation provider, custom pages, etc. And then there's ingredient configuration, which is in this case, if you selected snapshot only, then you give your snapshot name and the URL. And the snapshot URL will come from the agency snapshot page where you can, export and create a link to come and put here. And then it's all the app info with the app logo, name, tagline, etc. Right? App distribution. How do you want to sell it? Is it public, private, agency sub account, etc.? And
Can you
and
pause
here-
right there on the sub account? Go so because I sell templates currently on Etsy and the link I provide to them, so I get messages all the time. Can I load this into my sub account? So will I be able to click both?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So there is some nuances, right? This entire distribution as a concept is a bit confusing, and we're trying to simplify that, right? So Right now, we're going to solve it with information. So what does both mean, right? What does it mean if you say agency and sub account? It means two things. One, as a developer, forget the developer, right? So let's just talk about the agency. The model with agency and sub account is you are reselling it to other agencies, and the agencies get to bulk install the app onto all their sub accounts. The app is not listed on the sub account marketplace. It's only listed in the agency marketplace. And the agencies own the responsibility of installing the apps onto all their sub accounts. That's what agency and sub account means if both are checked. Right? So how is this relevant from a snapshot point of view? There are two ways you can split it. One, you can say agency only, in which case you're just charging a subscription to the agency and you don't get to decide how much per sub account. But if you want to monetize each time an agency pushes the snapshot onto a sub account, then you choose agency and sub account, right? Now you get to price saying, hey, every time an agency installs the app onto a sub account, I want to charge $5 per month, etc. And with this, we are also expanding the pricing options. Today, we don't have one time, but we understand that snapshots, custom fill widgets, many of these require a one-time payment. And that's something we're working on in Q3 as well as part of the roadmap. So one time will be here soon in the pricing options.
Sweet, thank you.
Awesome.
So I have a question on that. So
Please
you're
do.
saying that that this will be available then for the, how will the agency, if they bulk download it to each of the, or bulk it to each of their sub accounts, how do they make money?
So you get to put a reselling rate. So let's say the developer is saying that I want to charge $1 or $2, right? You can always get and make it $3, $4 and charge more, and that markup is yours.
So is that a one time to the agency or per sub account?
So it's the developers get to choose the model, right? Whether it's a subscription or a one-time. And in addition to that model, right, you get to make a markup, but complying with that model. So if developer says one time, then you get to mark it up one time. If developer is going for a subscription, you get to mark it up subscription.
Got it.
But you'll comply with the same model.
Yeah, I guess my point is just to keep it open so that any type of plan is available to however people want to do it.
No, that comes down to the developer, right? What kind? So you're saying the developer should have both one-time and subscription plans, and you should be able to choose.
Well, all I'm saying is that if you want it, you want to make it so that everybody's happy, I guess.
I guess like
So, Steve,
here's a better way to put it. So if I have a snapshot that I want to put on here and sell it, Steve, are you basically saying like how like as the person who created the snapshot and wants to sell it, how do I go about what does it really mean about checking agency or sub account and pricing? And you're asking about the bulk. Like if I just do agency and then the agency goes and installs it to their sub accounts, how do I, the creator, make the money?
Correct.
Is it from the agency? And then if they install it on each sub account, am I, the creator, getting paid for each sub account when they do it in bulk?
Yep.
yeah, that's what Karthik
exactly.
was saying. If you check sub account, then what you're also doing is saying like every time the agency who bought it from you installs it on a sub account, you also make a markup.
Yep.
But
100%.
Steve, I want to dig into that because I'm curious. When you say make it good for everyone, let's say you want to sell a snapshot for a one-time fee and then maybe a one-time fee per sub account, but the agency that bought it from you wants a recurring subscription charge. Like, so is that, Karthik, is that something that you guys have tried and is just technically not possible? Or is that something you guys didn't think about, where if I want to charge one time, maybe $500, and the agency that resells it to their customers is like, yeah, I want to charge $500 a month to use it. They can't do that essentially because I'm establishing it as a one-time fee product.
Yeah. So, initially the way we're approaching it is, the model remains, right? The way developer has perceived the pricing model is the way agencies can do it. But I hear you that, you want the agency who's buying the app to then again repackage it and kind of change the pricing model, right? That's something we have not, thought through in more detail, but that's something we're open to discuss. I think this is a good segue.
I think that's another use case for agency actions in a sub account. Because to like Andrew's point, so the developer says, hey, I'm just going to sell it for a one-time fee to the agency. The agency is like, well, I want to charge a monthly fee, or I want to charge a different fee per sub account. How do I automate that? If I can create an order form where they can check out for that snapshot, I can then have an agency action that says, hey, go ahead and load this in the sub account after this purchase.
Yeah,
Again, I mean, a lot of things keep coming back to these agency actions not being in sub accounts.
Yeah, I think that the problem, even with like my idea, would be if there's a recurring fee and it's something like a snapshot, how do you revoke access to that, right? That would
Yeah,
be
you can't.
Yeah, you can't. So that maybe it only applies to certain things, but that's probably much further down the road where you're like getting granular with the products and like what category the product's in.
But even for a one-time pay, I mean, if we sell the base account, empty box, pick your pre-built system, it's an additional charge. Again, the only way you're going to be effectively able to manage that without digging into the API. I understand a lot of this can be done in the API, but for no coders, having these agency actions in a sub account opens the door for a lot more possibilities with the marketplace.
Yep.
Got it. Understood.
And are they going to be able to message us? Is there a way for them to be able to, like, if I have my stuff listed in there, would there be a way, like the way I'm presenting it, that they could message us to say, hey, this is what I'm interested. Are you able to accommodate that? So if we do choose to list it one way and it's not working for them, is there going to be a way for them to contact us?
Yeah. So as a developer, you can list your website, right? And then you can provide your contact me, etc. And also a support. So just to show you, right?
That goes back to the profiles, the agency profile and the sub account profile. And you can list contact information in the agency profile.
Perfect.
Exactly. This is how, right? You can give your phone number, email, etc. as a support details, and they can always reach out to you with more feedback.
Yep.
Cool. So what does this look like from the installation perspective, right? So this is how the agencies would say. This is the agency marketplace, right? They will be able to, agencies will be able to discover apps based on apps which have snapshot. And once they go in, they can see that an app has a snapshot, right? Every component or an ingredient will be listed separately. All the pricing details are here. And then once you click on install, first step is they'll get to select which all locations they want to install this particular snapshot onto, right? Essentially, this is where this agency is pushing the snapshot to a sub account. Next step, what all assets do they want to push, right? You can choose a subset of assets that a snapshot has and push them. If there are conflicts, right? If you had installed a previous version of it, and if there is a conflict between the older version and newer version, do you want to supersede and have the newer version installed, etc.? And then, so the app can be just a snapshot, in which case the developer does not require any scope, but it can also be something more than that, right? A snapshot becomes a great way for a developer to package custom workflow actions and also have workflows, like fully built workflows in the snapshot. So now it's a great package to sell as a full utility. You just install the app and then you're good to go, right? So in such cases, the developer may require some API scopes, right? So the agency can say, do they accept to give those scopes to the developer, to the app? And when you say allow and install, it's the same thing, right? Choose the pricing model, and that's it.
Is there
Now,
any there any option when you're choosing the locations to push it to push to all new locations created as well? Or is that just
Yeah.
something you do in SaaS configurator?
No, it's right here. The first step is choose the locations where you want to send it to.
That's
And you can also
currently created locations or future locations as well.
So as of now, we are doing it for currently created locations only.
Yep.
However, we are adding the option to include marketplace snapshots in the SaaS plan.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay.
So
One thing I would like to see on the snapshot side is where we select our sub accounts, the ability to create a new sub account. So if we're just in the marketplace, we're like, oh, I like that snapshot. I don't want to have to back out, go create a sub account, and then come back into the marketplace, find it again, and then install it in that sub account. If I could just, as I'm in here shopping for a snapshot, if I say, hey, I don't want to put it in an existing one, I want to create a new dummy account for this to go in, because if indication of documentation, if the documentation on existing apps is any indication on how little or non-existing the documentation on snapshots is going to be, I'm definitely not going to want to put it into a real sub account. I'm going to want to create a new one.
So basically you're saying, Charles, that you want to experiment whether the snapshot is good or not, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I want to see. I mean, there's a lot more to a snapshot. Again, it goes back to the transparency. You can't build trust in a marketplace where everything is hidden and behind the scenes, and you have to either pay or opt in first to even get any insight as to what's actually there, what works, what doesn't work.
Charles, in my listings on Etsy, I have QR codes that they can scan and go see it live. And I've done each of the links. So like that 3-page funnels, and I've done each of the links. So in our listings, would there be a way for us to do like images or something of these snapshots so they can actually see what they're getting? Would that help, Charles?
Well, I mean, your like documentation URL could go to a Gitbook or, whatever. I mean, documentation to where I can see, I mean, that would help, yes. But at the end of the day, just because your documentation says that it's built one way doesn't mean that you're not a human and made a mistake.
Agreed.
I mean,
Got it.
Yeah,
So
like I like to test snapshots anyway currently before I give them to clients because I never know what's in them.
Right. So that's why I want to understand, like in general, do you all have like one test sub account where you kind of install the app before you kind of push it to some
Oh yeah,
the rest of the accounts?
all the time.
yep.
Got it.
Create a new, I never put a snapshot into anything but a new dummy account because never know what the heck is in it.
Got
It's
it.
kind of crazy not to do that. You're asking for problems if you're not doing that.
Yeah. Got it. And you don't want, even though you have an existing dummy account, you don't want to kind of push it to that. You want a new dummy account because you want to see exactly
Yeah,
what-
because I mean, let's be honest, the conflict resolution is pretty inconsistent at best. So things get doubled up, things get overwritten that shouldn't have been overwritten because it wasn't the same, or like we can't rely on the conflict search. It's highly unreliable. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes things load from the snapshot, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you have to delete it and try again 3 or 4 times to get the snapshot to load correctly.
Especially forms.
There's
Forms
too
is
many
notorious.
there's too many variables. I mean, we've seen with forms, surveys, emails. I mean, we've seen websites and funnels not load correctly. I mean, there's just way too many wild card variables with snapshots. And at the end of the day, again, there's a lot of human error that's involved in snapshots. I want to look at it before I put it into any live account. Putting it into an account with an existing snapshot just increases the risk of complication. I would want to put them into two different if I had two snapshots that I'm purchasing, I would put them in two different sub accounts, take a look at them independently, create a third dummy account, and then load them both in there. So at least that way I have something to go back to. I mean, that's how it should be done.
Well,
Got it.
and in addition to that, I mean, we were just even in the high level snapshots, you really can't see what's in them. And I think that's really where Charles is going with it too. Like, you know, the instructions have been updated. Ryan, you guys did a good job of updating some of the instructions that are in the snapshots now, but we still can't really see what's in it. We really don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's solved by a video of just kind of showing around, like, here's what's in it or what, but it's really hard to trust that what you're using is going to work or be appropriate for what you want. You know, like, I assume all of the high level snapshots are going to work. That's not the problem, but just knowing that it's going to work for what you want to use it for, it's really challenging. You know, just the instructions aren't enough to know that.
Got it. That's good feedback. And although we do have like a setup guide video, I think breaking those out would make sense. So you could kind of go through different sections and just be like, okay, here's what workflows looks like. Here's what's included here. Maybe that's a first step before we get to like an all-out demo. But
And I
Cool.
kind of I have a question kind of related to all this is like, you know, if people are going to put a snapshot from the marketplace into a dummy account, and then they're going to want to probably, you know, modify it a little bit, etc. How does
That was
that
my next question.
Yeah, how does that really go towards protecting the IP of the snapshot in the first place?
Yeah.
Because that
If I load it into a sub account, how are you going to keep me from snapshotting it?
Yeah. So I wish I had that. Can you just give me one?
Well, that's
minute?
okay. I mean, you can just tell us, but
Yeah,
you know,
I'll tell you.
that
This is
Chris
thing
was
too.
on my next question because that you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we're excited about as well. That's why I'm so excited to show you, because we are as part of this release of selling snapshots on the marketplace. We're also building in something called the IP protection. What this means is we tie every asset in a snapshot to the source, right? Which location did this come from, and which agency packaged it. And once we are able to, and every time a snapshot app has been installed by an agency, we maintain that source, that, hey, this has come from an app marketplace, which belongs to this guy, right? Now, they will not be able to repackage it, even though it's a new sub account. They cannot select those assets and say, hey, I want to create a new snapshot, even if it's a modified version of it. That's what we're calling as IP protection, where we identify assets back to their source and make sure those are no longer resellable. Having said that, you know, we have heard concerns that, hey, a developer an agency can always put the workflow in the left sheet, copy it on the right sheet, and resell it again, right? That's the problem harder to solve. But what we do offer is, if you are a seller, like a snapshot seller, and if you come across another, you know, developer or agency who's reselling your assets or morph versions of your assets, you can report it to us on marketplace.gohighlevel.com. We will review it. And if we see that it's a copy, we will take it down.
Gotcha. So you're basically doing license keys that are tied to the product.
Exactly. Kind of. That's an internal kind of implementation.
I mean, that's a very simplified way of putting it, but
yeah.
Gotcha. Awesome. I think it's great. But yeah, being able to create a new sub account from this screen would be nice.
I heard you. And this is something very unique to snapshots, I feel, because it's so much, right? There are so many things a snapshot can do. It's absolutely necessary to see exactly what that test or dummy sub account would look like if it's starting from scratch. I hear you. If we just gave you, I'm just thinking out loud, right? If we just gave you an access to what that looks like on a temporary basis, would that be okay? You get to just
do what?
Like, if you just give you a temporary sub account where you can see all this.
That would be amazing. I mean, honestly, that would be really nice. If there was a way for me to actually view the snapshot for a limited time, I mean, that would be super. But then, of course, you get back into the whole. Of course, you're never going to solve for every scam artist out there trying to make a quick buck. I mean, that's just part of it. You roll it out to cost of doing business. I mean, it's just part of it. And but if there was a way for me to go into an account or see a live preview or flow charts or something. I mean, because what I consider documentation and what the next person considers documentation is definitely going to be different. I promise you that.
Yeah, true. Okay, so here's the thing. Like, you don't want to let people see the exact assets maybe like up front because they can copy it, And the other thing I was just thinking about is like what kind of buyer protection is there? Right?
Yeah.
Because what if we buy a snapshot that promises the world or whatever, and then it's like not really at all what it says it claims to be?
That's the problem with documentation.
Yeah.
Because they could say it's great. They could provide videos, and then I could get the snapshot and say, well, that's not what the heck this was. Like, or how am I going to, and the other problem comes in, even if what I think is going to happen probably more than anything else is that it's going to be like the rest of the app marketplace, and there's going to be next to no documentation. And
so Charles, if you, let's just say, I don't know if this is possible, but if you are able to add like a money back guarantee, right? And it's like right there when you purchase the product in the marketplace, if the IP is protected, so they can't actually duplicate it, they would have to spend days, weeks trying to duplicate all the assets, and they only have a few days to check it out, go through it, see if it's what it should be, and then either ask for a refund or keep it. Would that be something?
I mean, I'm fine with asking for a refund, but it needs to go through the marketplace, and the developer needs to be able to approve it and issue the funds through the marketplace.
That's what I'm saying. So like making it up front, making it like attached to the marketplace app or product that they're purchasing, so that it's like a legitimate thing.
Because the last thing I want to do is request a refund or have to email some, say Jennifer, and I'm like, I have to go through this whole convoluted process. I just want to be able to click request refund, put in my reasoning, maybe there's a required video or something. I don't mind recording a Loom saying, hey, this is what I thought, this is what I'm looking at, it's not what I thought it was. I'd appreciate it. I can show that the assets have been deleted out of my agency or whatever proof that they want, just to make sure that they're protecting their own assets. I mean, but it needs to be completely end-to-end in the marketplace, which I think we're pretty far away from that.
Well, they got the trial coming out, right? So it's like if you can figure out the same way to attach a time limit to a refund request, the same way you have like the trial time limit, right?
Well, where they're far back from is the developer being able to issue that refund through the marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, that's something on our Q3 roadmap as well. But one caveat I want to call out here with snapshots: once it's been pushed to a location, you can't take it back. The assets are there.
Oh,
right.
So it's like a you buy it and there are no refunds.
Yeah, the agency
As it
can't.
sits
If
right
there's
now.
a refund, it just you wouldn't be able to revoke access to the assets essentially
Oh yeah.
From the locations, right?
from the
You can stop the agency from pushing it to new locations,
Right.
but you can't take back the assets that have already been pushed to locations.
Right. Because you can't, like, you guys even on your support channels have like some special controls to revert a sub account, I think, right? But y'all don't want to have to keep doing that with the marketplace stuff.
And on Etsy, it's oh my gosh, my vocabulary, sorry. You can't, when it's digital products, there's no refund anyway either. It's stated in their
Right.
the
Their
conditions.
terms.
Yeah.
I'm not as worried about the refund as I am, we'll see what the documentation comes out
hey,
like.
with the
I mean,
documentations, I have an idea. Okay, here's an idea. So you guys build some icons and like little rounded corner boxes and categorize them like custom values, custom fields, workflows, workflow triggers, workflow actions, and like don't get too specific with the names of them, but you can tabulate how many of those assets of each category are included in the snapshot, so people can at least get an idea of like, oh, there's like 10 custom fields and there's like 5 workflows, and each workflow has, you know, 6 triggers for each one or whatever, you know what I mean?
So instead of waiting until the conflicts page to see all that, like having it up front, like surfacing that information before they have to purchase the snapshot.
That's a cool idea, Chris.
But yeah, I think that will tell you like maybe there are these assets, but you wouldn't know what was the quality of those assets, right? And
Right.
that I think that's what you're worried about.
Yeah.
You want to see what you're buying, and that's a fair ask.
because I
Right.
mean, just seeing that would help. You know, even if that was if there was some kind of outline of that
Hmm.
in
don't
you
give
know
the names.
the app.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't
just
give the
but having
names.
an outline, because I mean we've all ran into situations where it's like, oh yeah, this is a great snapshot for whatever industry we go in. It's like, oh well, this is like 3 workflows in a funnel. It's a freaking lead capture snapshot. This is nothing. Like
Yeah.
why am I paying for this?
Got it. Got it. And a lot of these problems, Charles, will get solved once there's sufficient adoption, right? Once there are reviews saying, hey, people bought it and are happy with it, you know you can trust it. But I think it's a lot of these problems are for new
Well, that
apps.
depends on percentage of adoption in the first place.
Hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, it might have 5 reviews out of how many people, you know, if you only have 5 people using it and all 5 have left reviews, great. 5 people like it.
Yeah.
But then what about the other 90 that didn't? That said, nope, this isn't good enough for me. You know, I'm not even going to attempt to buy it.
Got it.
So,
Hey,
Dutch, Jackson, you got that question?
Yeah, to continue on this point, I think it is also really good to rate a developer. It's not only the snapshot itself, but also where it comes from. Because
absolutely.
you know, like a trusted seller on Amazon, for example, because they have a lot of products, and you know, so I think that is also a really good thing. And then the number of downloads, number of reviews is also indeed a good ratio to see, you know, like if 100 people download it and you get 1 review. But I think maybe high level can set in like an automated review request, get as many reviews as possible.
Got it.
I know the developer thing has come up before with the app marketplace, being able to view by developer and being able to rate by developer would be super nice.
Understood. Cool. Since you have just 5 more minutes, there's one request I have. I want to kind of connect one-on-one with many of you, especially a lot of you who understand the power of the app marketplace, and that's why you're here. But you have specific challenges, right? And I want to hear you. What are those fundamental things, or some things which we can build to build trust with agencies, so that you know they can start validating and pushing the apps to their sub accounts more actively. So I'm just dropping in a link to a form here. If you can please sign up, I would like to schedule one-on-ones with you all. Just it's a one-time thing, right? And just seek your inputs on how we can improve the app marketplace from an agency point of view. So I've dropped the link in the chat. If you are like,
That's the wrong link.
Yeah, that goes to high level.
I mean, if you want to give me
Hey,
access
this was
to
a
your
test
sub
and you
account,
guys passed. Okay. Congratulations. You're going to have a great
Give
weekend.
us control. We'll build something awesome.
oh, it went to the form builder. Sorry.
Cool.
Oops.
We'll get this link dropped in there.
That's fine.
Perfect.
There we go.
Awesome. Cool. So just to complete the demo, right? Once you install, you will also have the option to come back here. There'll be a plus icon where you can keep pushing it to more locations in the future. And it's the same process, right? In addition to this, there are two more places where agencies can use the snapshots. One is as part of a SaaS plan, where in addition to the snapshots you already have, you can now have these app marketplace snapshots there as well. And second, while creating a sub account, you also have access to all the snapshot you've installed from the app marketplace. So that's on the snapshots marketplace. Another interesting thing we have coming in Q3 is this custom funnel widgets marketplace. And this is one of the things which we are, it's a bold step we are taking, where all this while the place where users get to discover the apps is in the app marketplace. Now we want to bring these to the place where the user is. For example, for funnel widgets, we want to bring this within the funnel builder, where they can find custom widgets, explore what's there on the marketplace, and install it, drag and install it here, right? This is where I want to seek more feedback. What would be the number one concerns you would have?
I would tell you right now, I would flip-flop those buttons. I think the widget details needs to be the primary and the install needs to be the secondary. I want to make sure, from an end user experience, I want to make sure that they understand what the heck it is before they click that install, especially if there's a price tied to it. I want to call more attention to the additional information about it than the call to action to purchase and install.
Yeah, like have the details button say see details with the icon.
Yeah, and put the install as a smaller button.
Yeah, make the see details blue and make the install white.
Yeah.
Hey Charles, I think Saqib here. So I think we'll note this, as well as we'll probably thinking that since for the first phase we'll have 10, 15 apps. So what we can also do is we can expand the cards to take up the entire column and have some sort of a preview as well, right? Like fetch some images, show them in a small quantity so that the customers know what they're doing. But the functionality that we want to show, this is a work in progress design. The functionality, what we want to focus is on discoverability just via drag and drop as well as installing, right? And
I think they should be. I think they should be in both places. I think they should be in the app marketplace and in here. So as they're building, they can find them and learn more about them, install them, drag them into place. And then I don't know if there's a plan to separate out this custom widgets to where it's installed widgets versus non-installed widgets. So they can, if they just want to see they're installed, they don't have to, that's all that's showing there after they've already purchased, or maybe it just reorders itself. The installed ones are at the top.
It could just use accordions or sub menu in the left-hand section, left-hand menu there.
And is this going to be for every funnel? So like an example, I would love a pay back to the top widget on funnels and websites that is not in local high level systems. So would this be I could provide it for all of my sub accounts, or do I have to go and install this on every single darn one?
So that's the reason we brought this up. We want to understand from you guys, right? How do you think, would you be okay if we just, so the preferred distribution, right? If all the developers go with sub account only, what would be your signals you would seek to approve those apps and just be make all these widgets available directly for sub accounts to see in their funnel builder? How would we build that trust in agencies? That's what we're going to ask.
Well, agencies are going to want to put it in all their sub accounts. SaaS is going to not want to do that.
And people who aren't getting supported by their SaaS agency might want to be able to do it themselves if their SaaS person doesn't want it. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for SaaS, do you think the SaaSpreneur would first, check these apps? So this is how I'm seeing it, right? For SaaS, agency and sub account would be the dominant model, where you kind of validate whether the widgets are good and then push it to all your sub accounts, then be able to use it in their funnel builder. Versus agencies who are okay, especially not white label ones, who are okay with all these widgets directly being available in their funnel builder experience. Is that a fair statement?
I mean, as a SaaS, I would want to be able to approve whether it shows there or not, and then have my end customer be able to choose whether they actually want to install it or not. If there's any, I'm assuming there's going to be cost. I mean, there's going to be rebilling around this. So from a SaaS standpoint, that's how I would want it.
But the challenge here is, with snapshots and funnel widgets, Charles, there are going to be thousands, right? These are things which anybody can build fairly easily. So it's not scalable for you to keep validating everything. So it's,
again, that goes back to trusting the marketplace.
Exactly.
I have to validate everything that goes into the marketplace currently. I don't care how simple it is or how little it is.
So that's the fundamental question, right, Charles? Like, we don't want you to spend your entire day doing this. It's not scalable, right?
Get more critical in your review process and provide more documentation. I mean, there's got to be, the review process of developers, and I mean, clean it up right now. I mean, we're totally bypassed. We're providing an app marketplace outside the app marketplace right now because it's such a mess. There's no information. There's no critiquing. There's a said review process in place. There's no transparency around that review process. There's stuff in there that shouldn't be in there. That's total garbage. And then, the other part of it is that right now you add anything from the app marketplace, it creates a custom menu link. Nothing's nested. Nothing like it's a mess.
Yeah. I mean, Charles, but a lot of this is like, skateboard, right? So like, look at WordPress. It's been around for 20 years.
You can't roll out an app marketplace in a skateboard model. You can't do it.
Hold on. So WordPress has been around for 20 years, and there's still thousands and thousands of apps in WordPress that don't have good documentation. And a lot of it is free, right? And there's reviews potentially, but I think these calls are where we get that type of feedback so we can implement those changes.
Well, and I think that's why there needs to be a developer rating, because there are one or two developers that are
like
communicative and they provide actual support, and will jump in at any moment to help if something's not working right. But there's no way for me currently to even sort things by developer or rate a developer, because there's a couple developers that I would just go ahead and click on. Yeah, anything they come out with, I'm fine with that. I trust them. They're a partner, whatever. But right now, yeah, I have to go through everyone.
It's the same thing like when you purchase stuff on Envato or Theme Forest, because that's what's going through my head. It's the same thing like what they've done for their stuff that you purchase off of there.
Right.
Awesome. I mean, that's a great feedback, right? Developer rating and making sure that, apps from these developers are maybe even automatically approved, etc. But what are these developers doing right, Charles? Like, what are these things that you would expect a developer to do right? What are the problems? Can you just give us more details?
They have built-in support into their apps to where the end user can actually, because I'm looking at it from a SaaS standpoint. I do not care to get into the weeds of everything that happens in all my sub accounts. I want to be able to provide a seamless experience for the end user of the platform. There is one developer that I'm working with now that he has a support dashboard for all his apps. He has feature requests. He has, he's done a good job of making it end user friendly to where I don't have to micromanage his app as an agency. And not all of them are like that. Most of them are not like that. You know, he's very transparent. He's very open and forward with his thought process and where he wants to take things and what he wants to do with it. And I mean, that's why I trust him. If there was an easy way for me to just enable apps just for him, I'd totally do it.
Like your SaaS is like, you don't care if people know it's high level, right? And so you're
Me?
not, yeah.
No, I mean, I don't mention anything high level.
Right.
I'm
like
white labeled
proactively.
SaaS.
Right. But like if somebody comes to you and they're like having a sub account and they're like, hey, this is high level, you're like, yeah. Right.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to flat out lie to them. I mean, that's ethics.
But what I'm asking is like, you know, these developers, they're not white labeled, right? At all.
Well, so that's where a lot of the confusion around the single profile came, because everybody saw the agency profile and nobody had any idea what the sub account was going to see. And there was this huge fear of, you know, because you click what little information is there on that app, you go to the website and it's got high level plastered all over the freaking website.
Right.
And so that immediately dissolved any trust of the marketplace. It's like, because that was post, we have a review process for white label. And then you go look and it's like, I don't see anything that's white labeled. What are you talking about?
Right. But
and
like,
so
as far as
it killed all the trust, and now people are just scared.
Well, but for like your end users who have access to like a third party app that's not high level, right? Inside of your SaaS, they can get support from that developer. But
It's all white labeled.
It's all white labeled. Even
It's
his
all
support
white.
page?
It's all white labeled. He's created landing pages for every single app that is completely separate from his non-white labeled. He's done it right. He's done it how every developer should have to do it to be in there and be marked as white label. And that's the problem, is that what high level is considering white labeled in the app marketplace is not what a white label SaaS would consider white labeled.
No, I think to clarify, what Charles you mean by white label is they're not mentioning high level. It's not like they're making it agency branded, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's renamed apps and named apps differently so that it reduces the overall risk of that white label client identifying that, hey, this is a high level integration and not a white label integration. And he's created individual landing pages for each one of those. So
Charles, everyone asks who this developer is.
I know. I mean, you know, it's Rupert. Rupert's the only one that's done it right. I know you know who I'm talking about. I mean, he spoke at several events. He's the only one that's doing it right. He's the only one in the app marketplace that I trust.
So from my perspective, because I'm looking at getting involved with the Snapshot marketplace, I would want to see what he's doing so that I can meet those standards. You know what I mean?
Same.
Yeah, so that's great feedback. Maybe it's just a matter of doing some overhaul in the not onboarding, but like when you're creating your profile. So like what's required from a developer in terms of description, things like that. And then maybe having a best practices, some sort of, like training, like best practices that's established by high level by the community that is visible to developers, so that when they're doing what they're doing, they know like these are the guidelines that people are looking for. You're probably not going to get rated well. And if you're not rated well, people aren't going to, be going to your app and stuff. So.
Awesome. That's a great point. But overall, in terms of best practices, one is maintaining white label friendliness if they claim to, not just in the app description, but also in all the landing pages, etc., where the end user might reach. That's one thing. Second thing is having the right support and being responsive to the complaints, etc. And third, documenting the app in fairly easy to understand, user-friendly way. These are the three things you mentioned, Charles. Anything in addition in terms of best practice? Because we want to educate our developers as well that, hey, this is what it takes to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and Rupert's not perfect. Don't get me wrong. He's not perfect. But there's things that he's working towards improving. But I think if you just model, like the videos that he does, they're nice, but they don't give really any information. When you're think about when you go on your phone and you look at the app store, there's real information about what is in that app. Like, what is that app for? What is its purpose? Like, there's actual screenshots, there's actual videos that fully portray what that app is. And I think especially on SaaS, where you have end users that are not, most of them are not going to be tech savvy, not going to understand a lot of it. They need that because ultimately they're the ones buying it. Whether it's an agency model or a SaaS model, either way, it's for the end user. If they don't understand what that app is and what the benefits of having that app is, it doesn't matter if the agency's putting it in there for them or if SaaS is just opening the door for them to put it in themselves. That's the bottom line. I mean, there has to be more information. There has to be better documentation and support. Leading to a support email is a joke.
And
Support email shouldn't even be talked about in today's world. Like, that is 1990s tech support. I mean, come on.
His feedback too is sorting. So like mine is more design oriented than the actual automations as of right now. So being able to have tags on like what the focus of the snapshot is for, I think would be a good thing as well.
Got it. Awesome. Amazing discussion. We are well over time, and I wanted to use this time to also do a quick overview of our roadmap. So I will go on. Whoever is free to stay back for another 15 minutes, that would be great. If not, thank you so much for joining in and sharing all the feedback, everyone. All right, over to the roadmap for Q3. Cool. So we discussed about the snapshot module, and we also spoke about the custom funnel widgets module, right? So these are the two new things. Developers and now agencies anybody can come and now start selling on the app marketplace. Another thing we're going to add is templates marketplace. So these are the three new modules we're introducing in the marketplace. Some additional things we're building to improve the current marketplace, right? One, better external auth capabilities. If this is all the more relevant for developers who are building integrations between high level and another app X, right? For example, ClickUp or Google Sheets, blah, 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 etc. Right? So in such cases, the developer would request some credentials associated with the third-party app, which can be an API key, as simple as API key. It can be credentials like username, password, etc. Right? And that was one thing we solved this quarter, but we also want to expand on it. For agency and sub-account, currently there is a flaw where we expect the agency to have the credentials of the sub-account, and we assume that all the sub-accounts share the same credentials. We want to solve that and make it a two-step process where agency installs the app and the sub-accounts get to put in their API key or whatever credentials in, right? Next, external auth in agency-only apps. Agency-only apps today don't have external auth, and that's something to add. And ability to re-auth without needing to reinstall. So if you've changed your credentials, you should be able to go in and update your API key, etc., without having to reinstall the app. So these are three things we're planning to solve. And this mostly solves all the integration kind of apps on the marketplace. App update mechanism, where developers push new updates and then agencies can install the apps or the updates to their sub accounts. That's a feature we're building. Yes. Okay. Multiple distribution types in the same app. So we spoke about, there are agencies and there is SaaS, right? At the end of the day, the developer is building for the sub account, right? So they should be able to choose the two models while building the app, right? They either want to go sub account only, in which case the app gets listed on the sub account marketplace, or they want to go with agency and sub account, which is, agencies install the app, or both, which makes it a lot more powerful for them, right? It's the same problem they're solving. It's the same user they're solving it for. Is these two distribution models are either direct or through agency, right? So we want to make both of these accessible in the same app, right? The developer gets to choose, hey, I want to do both. I want the sub accounts and I want to explore both these options of distribution. So that has been a popular request from the developers, and we want to solve it, while making sure we give agencies all the, controls that you already have in terms of white label, etc. I'll just pause here. Any questions or comments on this?
I do think for a lot of agencies in high level, while several of us understand on this call the agency and sub account and how that relates to what's going to get shown where, I do think that there needs to be some thought around the wording of, if there's a checkbox, show in sub account app market, like make it stupidly clear what is going to show in that sub account app marketplace. Because you also have to think, we want mass adoption of this, obviously. The other part of it is we have thousands of agencies that struggle even getting into their Gmail and their agencies. So like make it stupid clear of what is going to show in the sub account view of the app marketplace. And I think that's one thing that's missing right now.
Absolutely. So yeah, I completely concede on that. The distribution type itself, it took me a couple of weeks to understand, right, what it meant.
Right.
So
the distribution type means absolutely nothing to half the people out there. That they just don't get it. But having something where it says, a checkbox, or this will be shown in the this app will display in your sub account app marketplace, just even needs to be more transparency.
Correct. And that's one of our objectives with this as well. Simplify the concept of distribution type. And first thoughts is we're thinking of asking two separate questions, right? Who's meant to be the user of the app? Is it the agency or the sub account, or is it both? In most cases, it's one of the two, right? And if it is sub account, who gets to install the app? It's essentially these two questions, right? Which is distribution type. Who's the app for and who gets to install it? Right? That's the first direction, but yeah, we're going to invest more in terms of, designing this better for simplicity. Cool. Lot of pricing models, freemium, which is basically a free base plan plus paid premium plans. Along with that, the ability to upgrade plans from lower to higher or vice versa. One time, which is critical for snapshots and funnel widgets. Usage-based pricing, which can be used for custom workflow actions, conversation provider, AI bots, anything, right? Ability to rebill on workflow custom actions and triggers. And this is for the agencies. If there's a custom action or custom trigger, which a developer has created, then how can you as an agency monetize and rebill it per execution, right? That's something we're going to build in Q3 as well. Charles, you spoke to this refund policy and flow management. It's a pain today, and we want to kind of solve this in the marketplace. Support ticket management between the developer and Go High Level. Today, yes, there are support, email or something which they provide, but how can we make this entire support system more experience better within the app marketplace, where users get to raise support tickets and the developers get to respond all within the context of high-level marketplace. Custom menu link customization. So there are two things we want to solve here. One is ability to reorder all the custom menu links in the left navigation menu, and also assign the menu links to two things, right? One is user roles or SaaS plans, right? A specific user sees these items only. For example, an agency user sees this versus agency admin sees more. Location admin sees only this. I mean, location user only sees 3 versus location admin sees 5, things like that, right? And also SaaS plan. Based on which plan they're on, you can give them more custom menu links and more options. Another one is open up developer partner certification route. Today we have 6 developer partners and we want to grow that ecosystem. So we want to provide a certification route to get more developers who are more educated and aware of all the best practices and the entire Go high level developer ecosystem. And we give them badges saying, hey, these are the guys you can go to get private apps built, and also any apps they are built on the marketplace get certified and badge that, hey, this is coming from a Go high level certified developer, right? That's how we plan to improve the overall developer ecosystem and the supply on the marketplace. I'll skip the developer audit logs and many of these. A couple of things here. White labeling login and OAuth to install apps from external sites. Let's say in the future, an app, third-party app, say ClickUp, builds the high-level app on their marketplace, right? We want to provide a white-labeled experience for them to, for your users to go log in and approve the scopes as part of OAuth and give access to their account to high level or to ClickUp, right? So having the entire integration flow from outside third-party sites to high level and making that entire flow white label enabled is what we want to achieve here. White labeled API docs for agencies. This has been an ask for quite some time. And another one is ability to include apps in the SaaS plans, right? So if a SaaS plan includes a snapshot app, right? And if you want to also package it with, let's say, custom actions, triggers, etc., we want to give the ability to package apps, which are great starter pack for specific, like for sub accounts, right? Just package the whole thing. Your snapshot and all these apps should be installed right away when a sub account signs up for that SaaS plan. So that is the last item on the Q3 roadmap. So these are all the things on the plan. And of course, these are all the larger problems, right? Apart from that, we're an agile team, we're a startup. So any feedback we keep getting, we always keep putting in under ad hocs and we keep solving them quick and easy, right? So this continuous improvement is always there, but the roadmap are larger capabilities and larger modules we're building, which are our big bets. Quickly hopping over to the integrations, which is another product I manage. Google Lead Ads integration, which is basically if you're running Google Ads and you have a form linked to that ad campaign, then how can you, similar to the way you have Facebook lead ads flowing into the Go high level ecosystem, you can integrate your Google Lead Ads, have all those flow in, create contacts, and take it from there within Go high level automation, etc. Right? So that's the agenda here. I'll skip the integrations platform. It's more of a project for us, it's a technical project. Multi-FE pages we spoke about. We're targeting this for end of July. Ability to create new roles, user roles, right? So this is an extension to the granular permissions, where today, if you want to, let's say you have Bob and you want to copy Bob's permissions to Aaron, we have that option called copy permissions, but we want to extend that. We want to be able, you should be able to say, hey, Bob is a sales team member and Aaron is a marketing team member. Just create a template called sales from Bob and marketing from Aaron. And so that tomorrow, any new user who joins, you just apply, hey, this guy should get all the sales permission. This guy should get all the marketing permission and so on, right? So you get to define these custom roles with those granular permissions that they get automatically applied whenever a new user gets onboarded. So that's the plan for new user roles. Ability to customize system emails, welcome email, lost password email, etc. We do have this in SaaS today, in the SaaS configurator. We want to extend this to all white label agencies. So this is a 297 and 497 plans, right? So all 297 and 497 agencies will be able to customize their welcome email, all the system emails such as welcome email, lost password email, etc., and make it white label and design it the way you want. Another step we are taking towards improving the integrations is today, if you see, the entire integrations is listed here, right? So what we want to do is kind of the way we did with Printful, where if you click on Printful View app, it's basically an app on the marketplace, right? And that's the direction we want to take overall for the all the integrations, where we want to create separate apps for, let's say, in Google, right? Google Calendars will be a separate app. Google Drive will be a separate app. Google Business Page will be a separate app. So today, if you try to integrate Google, we asked the location admin for all the permissions under the sun, every single permission under the sun, right? Which is kind of not building trust. So what we want to do is they get to choose what integration they want, and we only ask those permissions from their Google account. That way, the users or the location users have more trust that, hey, it's a legitimate app and we're not asking too many unnecessary permissions. And two, for each of those integrations, right? Let's say Google Calendar, I will be able to add multiple accounts. I can have 3 Google accounts under my Google App Calendar, 4 different accounts under my Google Drive app, etc. Right? So each of these Google accounts will be a separate app. Each one will have separate permissions we're asking for. Each one can have multiple accounts, and each one will have its own management experience. So we plan to do that
So
for all.
you're moving integrations into the app marketplace?
Yes.
Okay.
Charles, any feedback you have, we can.
I think that's a freaking horrible idea.
You and Karthik
Yeah.
will jump on a call like later and we talk about it.
So let's talk about it, Charles. Why do you feel so?
Because the marketplace is a mess. I'm not going to show the app marketplace my sub accounts until a lot more is done. And so because it's a mess and I'm not going to show it to my sub accounts, I'm not even going to enable that menu item. Now they're not going to be able to get to their integrations.
We will keep this experience. So for every single integration,
Okay.
they'll be able to hear and
As long as that stays, I'm fine. I mean, once the marketplace gets to, yeah, as long as that stays, because I mean, I definitely see the advantage. There's a huge advantage of moving Google to the app marketplace. Because like right now we have this horrible problem of two-way sync. It is user profile specific, not location specific. Moving it to the app marketplace would enable that to be location specific. So I could connect my Google two-way sync in one location and not have it tied and all those emails going into another sub account that I have access to that I'm a user in, which is what the current experience is. So I love that that's going to go to the app marketplace, but until the app marketplace, gets closer to being viable, this definitely needs to stay there.
Absolutely. So the entire management and discovery is going to be here, where they can, see all the go high level integrations are here, but just a click here will take them to the entire management, which is inside an app. So they wouldn't need to go to the marketplace, search for apps. That's not going to be the case. It's just that the app marketplace is a more suitable place from a technology point of view, right? The way we seek permissions and make it accessible to our customers. That's the right approach for us. But I understand that, from a user journey perspective, that may not be the right place to take them to start integrations. And we'll make sure that, the experience kind of starts from here only.
Okay.
Make sense, Charles?
Yep.
And Charles, I'll do one thing. I'm going to block one-on-one with you. Let's discuss this. If you have any major concerns, we're open to feedback.
I filled out the form.
Okay, awesome.
I'm in the Slack channel. You're more than welcome to ping me anytime.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Charles. Okay, awesome. Zapier. So we want to move Zapier to API v2. That's part of our Q3 roadmap. More granular permissions at the agency level. So this is where we need some help. Oh yeah, let's discuss this now. So some things we've been getting, permissions that an agency owner would want to restrict for other agency users, right? These are some things which one of the developers sent me, and through all his conversations with the agencies. But I want to seek your feedback, and if this is missing anything, right? Login NAS feature. Which all agencies should be able to do it? Only an agency admin right now, but this I heard as a feedback that this should be more of a permissions that a agency owner can configure. I just pause.
Yeah, I know. I think it was Chris. Right after the agency user update, permission update was rolled out, or the select which account an agency user is tied to. I know one of the things, what we were hoping for is that it wouldn't add them as an actual user in that sub account. That we could just say, hey, we don't want them to have admin privileges. We want them to have a lower level of agency permissions. We want them to only, this agency user only works with these sub accounts. I want to add them to those sub accounts, but I don't want them to be a user in there. I want them to be able to just work on those sub accounts, not be an actual user in the sub account, because then there's the possibility of things getting assigned to them, emails getting sent out as them.
Got it.
I know that's one thing that a lot of us have been trying to figure out is how can we give limited access to sub accounts to agency admins or users, but not put them in the actual account as a user, because they're not part of the company. They're just working on the account. They don't need to be in there as an actual user. Take a VA, for instance. If I have a VA that's working on, 3 accounts, I may want them as an admin or a user, just limited permissions. Basically, they have the same permissions as what a sub account admin would have. They have none of the agency level stuff, but I can put them as an agency user that's equal to, or maybe, through granular permissions is a little bit more or less than what a sub account admin would be. And I can say, hey, I only want this VA to be able to access these accounts. And they can access those accounts only, but they're not listed as a user in the sub account.
Got it. So the problem, if they get listed as a sub account, is they're getting assigned tasks and various. So the
correct. Yeah. There's a whole plethora of problems that can come out of it if you're not careful.
Got it.
Yeah. Plus, maybe the actual location admin who bought the subscription sees this other person like, who the hell is this? Even though they might work at the agency company, it just would cause confusion in that way too.
Yeah, because if we have our ticketing dashboard, like we have a feedback tool that we use, and we have our team go in and do things based on feedback that we get from a certain sub account. Well, we don't need them to be able to, the end user doesn't need to know who that is particularly that's making that change. They just need to know that someone at Pinnacle did that.
Got it. Understood. Got it. Feedback taken. Dia?
Yep. So in relation to that as well, if that would be the case, when the person who is logging in as, I would like to actually know when they made changes that the actual person who changed it and not the person who they logged in as. You know what I mean? So for example, I'm an agency user or admin, and then I logged in as Charles. When I make changes in Charles' sub account, in the audit log, it shows as Charles and not me. So that also creates confusion.
Got it. Great feedback. Cool. Noted. So if there were 5 agency level permissions that we could target for Q3, what would they be? What are the top problems that you would want your fellow agency users to, you would restrict from your fellow agency users from having access to?
Can you rephrase the
Anything
question?
that can be in the list versus not be in the list. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I was just asking if you could like rephrase the question.
If there were 5 permissions that you would want to add here in granular permissions, right? We have this entire roles and permissions. So we want to expand this and add more permissions at the agency level also. For example, we've been getting these requests, agency dashboard, hide financials. You don't want your other agency employees to see your financials. Agency app marketplace, you want only the agency owner to access the marketplace. So things like this, right? Where you want things at the agency level where you want to control the permission. So what are some areas that we should be prioritizing?
Email services.
Yeah, go ahead.
Snapshots.
Email services. We have 3 instances wherein our email services get switched and currently our Mailgun integration got disconnected and such.
Got it. Okay. Email services.
Snapshots.
Snapshots. And what exactly is the concern with snapshot? Because I think it's already there, right?
I mean, ideally, we would have access to be able to turn.
Yeah, each
Every single one, I
function-
think, should
yeah.
be an option. But
Yes.
I look at it from like, yes, email is important. Yes, it's a pain in the rear. At the end of the day, though, I think about like, for me, it would be the dashboard, at least the financials. That, not that they're accurate anyways, but the SaaS config. I think of what could cost me real money. SaaS configurator, sub accounts, app marketplace. On the settings side, company settings, billing. I mean, I definitely don't want Stripe. Like anything that's tied to financials, definitely. If there's anything financially implicating, that needs to be a granular permission.
Got it.
Yeah, it would be nice for, I know it might be too much right now, but in the long run, we would like to have all functionalities be added in a granular permission. In addition to that, would be nice for the granular permission to have separate for the view, the manage, the edit, not piled into view, edit, view, manage,
There's a WordPress plugin, and I can't think of which one it is. And you go through the role and you check the boxes on what you want them to see. And just like what Dee just said too, the whole edit, read, write, all those options. And that would be, I think, more ideal is just the checkbox.
Yeah,
I think-
checkboxes would be great. And also, I think when you're setting up the user, when you're adding a new user, you have to be able to, if there was a way to assign them to like what you were talking about before, like let's say, for example, they were at an admin level, or they were at a marketing level, you could default that across, so you don't have to go through every single time to add that. It's just monotonous.
Agreed.
Being able to, well, I think that goes to the roles,
The
user roles.
Yep. Yep.
But I
But
think
in those roles, Charles, let's say that you have roles, you could have, I mean, ideally what I'd like to see is that you have roles and then you have the ability to save roles.
Yes.
So your roles may be different from my roles.
Correct. Every CRM that I've used that's done granular permissions has had it to where you had basically two or three levels of access. You had administrator, you had back end, like financial, and then you had users. And you could define your own roles. So you would go through, I'd take Steve, he's, my general manager, he oversees everything, and I set up the permissions for general manager, and then I can save that as a new role, name it whatever the heck I want, and that's just a new role that's saved. Because where I call Steve a GM, he may call the same position a GSM, a general sales manager, and he wants to name it that way. That needs to be every CRM that I've used with granular permissions. You've been able to do that, and because that way I don't have to sit there and, like Steve was saying, go through every single one. I can define my roles just using Steve. I can just use Steve's profile. Okay, I'm going to set up the GM position. I'm going to go through here, set his permissions like that. I'm going to save it as a new role. Done. Now let's set up my sales manager. I can still do it all on his profile or on a dummy profile. It doesn't matter, but I'm able to define those roles and set them and save them. So as I onboard new people or hire new people, I can easily deploy those without much thought, other than maybe the special occasion where they need the exception to the rule. But on the agency side, it'd be super nice if V1 was just like, look, we're not going to get into the granulars, but we'll make it to where you can at least check a box and hide that whole main category, like SaaS configurator or sub accounts, or, maybe it doesn't get into the weeds with it, but at least we're able to at least block those off just from a level 1 access.
Yeah, would be nice. Yeah, would be nice to have it like, I think the one that I saw wherein it, it gets super tedious to actually set those up, the roles, is Salesforce, because for every item that they have in Salesforce, they have a specific permission for that, and you will either need to have it added in that role, right? And then, when you're assigned to a role, you can also still go into the user's profile, and then you can,
mark
make changes in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want this to go unnoticed too, but like still with even just your staff itself, there still is no title field within your staff.
I didn't follow that, Stacy. What do you mean by that?
There's no field associated by default when you're assigning a staff member. Go up to your user information.
You want to call it, give it a name, right?
Like a title field, like what Charles was saying, like a senior sales manager or something as such. So when you actually go in to look at your staff, there's no title field associated. Right. So when we're trying to call to that, oftentimes, you create like a custom value, which is kind of a goofy way. And it just seems by default, you should have that right there. And that could tie then directly into the permissions.
Agreed. That's exactly what we're trying to achieve here.
Yeah, there's
field.
just a field. Sorry.
I mean, I think, when it comes to, I think as this rolls out, I think user type should probably get replaced with something similar to how location is done. And it be set by whatever permission role that you have assigned that person, or if there's another column for it. Because that way, if I have, I can see, okay, they're an account admin, but here is the permission role that is assigned to that user. And so that way, at a glance, looking at my list of, hundreds of users, I can sit here and identify who has what permission. I shouldn't have to go into the actual profile to view the permissions to then see it. From the table view of team, I should be able to see what roles are assigned to which people.
Yeah, put it in the filters for like user filtering. or
Yeah,
whatever. and,
definitely.
yeah, like have all the user roles be something we can select in the filter.
Got it.
And generally, when you have roles, if you can generally, once a role has been created, this has been my experience in other platforms. Once a role is created, you can open that role's permissions, edit it, save it, and choose whether to roll out to all existing users or just new users, or select the people that, it depends on how crazy you want to get with that. I've seen, like you were showing with the snapshots, the whole rollout there. I've seen that with user roles. Like, hey, you can roll it out to current, you can roll it out to all future, or you can pick the people that you want this change to apply to.
Yeah, that's important.
That happens most often, like when companies change management or owners, they redefine those roles. But hopefully they're keeping the same CRM. So, that's kind of the use case behind it.
Got it. Cool. Okay, awesome. One more thing I just want to ask. We have this item called Google LSA, ads integration. But we just want to understand the priority. Like, do you see this being used a lot, Google LSA?
I don't.
I
Not
think it
my
depends
space.
upon the industry you're in.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah, I
SaaS,
think-
so I don't ever talk about anything to do with that. So
Yeah, I think in local service industries, yes.
Got it.
Yeah, because it's local service ads. Like an online company can't use this.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean it's not important.
It's fun.
It's valuable for us because we work with a lot of brick and mortar, and like landscape companies and things like that. That's roofers, that type of stuff. So, having that integration is good.
I imagine a lot of your high-level agencies utilize this along with the, if they're doing ads, but there's definitely value to it.
Okay, cool.
Just not for
Yeah.
my agency.
Probably not a priority compared to like getting user roles and granular permissions pushed out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Got it. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So this is the roadmap for Q3 for integrations, which includes user management as well. Cool. Right. Awesome. This was a really long call,
Looks
and
good.
thank you so much for staying back.
Long call, lots of feedback. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Have a
Don't
good
forget to get
weekend.
that one-on-one call scheduled.
I will.
Thanks.
See you guys.